can best assist each other on this wonderful program here on Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat. So it is natural for people to associate timing with meeting their life partner. In several instances, the individual may have experienced relationship misfortune leading up to the successful connection. Timing serves a role to uphold cohesive order and orchestrates the natural flow of events. Actions fall into place because of universal timing, and when combined with synchronicity, bring those events into your awareness to seize your attentions. How can you make better use of timing in your life? For starters, appreciate the natural rhythm of life. And how many of us actually do appreciate the natural rhythm of life? However, we've got Pedzi Chimbwanda, who is an entrepreneur and educator with over 10 years experience in communication strategy, digital marketing, business and leadership development. And he's the co-founder, in fact, he's the founder of Disrupt, an unconventional advertising and PR agency. I like the word unconventional there. Pedzi Chimbwanda does extensive work in the startup space, so currently as a managing partner for 8 to 5 Innovation Hub, powered by Old Mutual Government Innovation Hubs, and his own social enterprise Mentor Us, which is an organization which specializes in designing, building, and implementing innovative development programs and curriculum for the young entrepreneurs. He's my new best friend, so he's young. He's the man for the job to make things happen. Pedzi, welcome. Thank you so much for coming through to Capital.
Thanks so much, and thanks always to the adulting family, the Pulsars, for having me.
The Pulsars, yes. I love this topic because I'm one of those who's like at a crossroads and also entering into a new chapter of my life. And I've always asked, is this the right time to be doing this? Yeah, there's so many, I've come across this a lot of the times. But I'm sure most of our listeners will probably also be in the same boat as I am, or even they're in a better space than I am. So it's great that you've come through. So what does timing in life mean? Let's just start there when you're looking at timing.
This topic is so, I love it. I love it. Let me first start by saying the right thing done at the wrong time is the wrong thing. That's just the beginning.
Yes.
It may be the best thing to do. It is something that you know should be done, but if it's done the wrong time, it is the wrong thing to do. And I think the most complex aspect of being an adult is knowing or having the skill of timing. It's understanding not only how to express or pursue something, but when. You may have just the right solution for something, even in business, but if you release it too early, if you release it too late, it may flop. So timing is not so much about it being early or it being late, but timing is just, it's a specific period. And I'm sure within the conversation today, we will kind of highlight certain aspects or factors that tell us that this is possibly the right time for something to happen.
So you've been in the entrepreneur's landscape for quite a while, and entrepreneurs are always looking out for opportunities that are out there, and they probably see it as being, one of those great attributes that one needs to have, or they might not even know, and it's intrinsic within them to have that intuition. You know what, opportunity, figure it out, and let me come and do this here. And then before you know it, maybe it's not the right time like you've mentioned. Are there specific attributes that one needs to have in order to have some kind of cognition or understanding of how to read the signs of the times?
That's the signs of the times. I like that. Okay, so we all know that time and chance happen to us all. So timing is not defined by something that you may think up and say, and then just like, this is going to be the constraint. Timing is more decided on by your internal factors. So any decision that you want to make, you consider the cultural or the contextual elements. Let's say, for example, you want to launch a product, and right now we've got a summit happening. timing. It may be a very good product, but the timing and attention is already focused elsewhere. It may be within a company setting, and you want to get a promotion. You feel, I've really worked here for a bit, and it's time for me to really speak about it. And then you bring up that topic when whether the finance, the HR are in a mess, struggling to discover who embezzled funds. Timing. You may also be in a similar situation where you're asking for promotion, and you're in the middle of, or you're asking for that same promotion, but maybe in terms of your own personal capacity, you haven't reached the peak. Timing becomes everything.
So this is where the question comes in for most of us. Are we mentally primed or mentally charged to understand it, to kind of figure things out and to read or read the temperatures of when to move? Because some of us will be putting a cake in the oven and we're so excited about the cake, we just want to pull it out before it's time.
Right.
So are we mentally in the right headspace, or what could we be doing to kind of center ourselves so that we are kind of focused? Because we get excited about stuff and there's a lot of activity and there's a buzz about things.
I think it's important to have two specific skills if you are to actually succeed in knowing how to gauge time, not just for yourself, even for the external factors. And then the third is the most important. So the two are some that you actually can study. The third is something you must study. So the first one would be emotional intelligence, understanding the timing or understanding how to interact with a next person, which is a one-person kind of thing. This is usually involved in one-on-one interactions, knowing that this person's level, intellectual capacity is at this stage, this person's emotional capacity is at this stage, this person's stress levels are at this level. That emotional intelligence is an easy way to actually know how to control what we term timing. The second one is cultural intelligence. Now, cultural intelligence is now more on a group setting or a societal setting, societal contrast or context. And what this essentially says is, what do they believe in? What do they understand about specific regions of what is considered time? So, for example, in Africa, let's say Zimbabwe, it is expected that a lady should have reached a certain level at a certain age. A man should have attained something at a certain age. And going against this considered norm would be something that people be like, you are behind time, or also akurumitse. You get it? So cultural understanding is very important. But I think one that could really help a lot of people, again, because we're a Christian nation, is understanding timing from a spiritual perspective. Now, the reason why I don't usually like talking much about the spiritual perspective is it's very difficult for us to gauge the level of someone in order to also then give advice. So when you are at a spiritual level, it's you understanding, is this the time that God has said I should do it? Is this what I should do? Or should I wait? Or should I wait? There's a new one that came up based on some scholars just soon after COVID. And the kind of research came up because of the way businesses were now struggling to get back up. People were struggling to reintegrate their social lives into the new norm. And this one now is called the adaptability quotient, which is AQ. This would speak into how fast can you move, how fast can you adapt to a situation that you had not planned for, how fast can you adapt to things that are thrown at you and make them still align to what you need done. And it speaks to timing. So you can imagine a lot of businesses, even when COVID hit in Zimbabwe,
we didn't see it coming.
We didn't.
We didn't see it coming, and most of us got the backhand of that situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the adaptability quotient.
Mm.
Because the EQ part, the emotional intelligence part, didn't really play a great role there. You had to regulate yourself. The cultural was a mess because people didn't know what was happening. So it came back to the person, the individual, to say there are certain things that I need to develop myself, within myself, in order to go to the next level.
Mm. That was something else. I mean, culture plays a really big role in how we do things. And I know you've probably touched on aspects to do with emotional intelligence from a neuro-linguistic aspect
Right.
of it. And how dangerous is it to be playing on already, say, it's presupposed ways of doing things? Just because our family did things this way, or the company did things this way, or our school did things this way. And now there's fear that is thrown in because you want to go against the grain. And intuitively, you know, I got it in. Yeah, if I don't go through that hole there, it's going to close. So what is the danger when it comes to cultural norms or values that we need to be looking out for, and how do we manage it?
The major danger to adhering to certain cultural norms, it comes down to one thing, which is personal capacity. Do you have what it takes to go down that path that whoever is trying to instill in you? Number one. Number two, is the environment acceptable of that specific decision? And how long would it take, if you are to make that decision, how long would it take you to start, to grow, and if it fails, to recover? And can you afford it? Can you afford that loss? Whether it's financially, can you afford it emotionally? Can you even afford it physically? So I think now we've got a generation which, not even just one generation, majority are now what we're considering woke. In simplest terms, the generations that now understand that it's about me, not really about what you say to me. And with that, now there's a soft skill that has been developed naturally, you could say, or not, which is just personal aggression and like stonewalling. So I would say when people are considering certain decisions, it's your body, personal capacity. Consider that first before you jump into that boat.
Those variables, the ones that we try to turn a blind eye to or ignore, but we know that they're there and we have to be paying attention to them. You're tuned in to Capi Talk 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat, and it is The Pulse, and my name is Brita Masalethulini, and we are speaking to Pedzi, who's in the studio with us, and we are adulting, talking about timing, because timing is everything. They always say adulting is a scam. I don't know how far true that is, but we are adults and we've got no choice but to deal with whatever we're faced with. And in business, we talk about making those tough decisions sometimes, and partnerships are really under a lot of strain. I don't know, people back in the 80s, 70s, maybe they had a different way of doing things, and they were nice to each other. But we are being tested in this day and age that we're living in.
Right.
And so timing is everything, like we were saying. With my partners, I got at the board table in the meeting, and saying, we need to move. And I was saying, no, let's not do this yet. You having an understanding in terms of business and how people do their work, how do we manage that relationship? Because it can have some costly effects on people when it comes to issues of just how we move as a team moving forward. Because now people are not to be fitting together, falling together. There's conflicts, a lot of that. So timing within the corporate setting, how does one handle that?
I think this happens quite a lot, based on departments as a start. So there's always a conflict between the finance department, marketing department, HR, procurement. Like everyone is just.
If you know, you know.
Oh, someone shots fired. But I think the most important thing that I've observed, because I work within the startup space, and we also have got varying dynamics when it comes to these SMEs, companies, startups, young founders, and the like. The one thing that I've actually noted helps is developing like universal values and goals. A lot of people create goals on the go, and because the goal has been created on the go, there are some people who adapt faster than others. There are some people who are risk averse and some who love the risk. There are those that know the level to which their money is in the company, and those that are just saying to me, Mari, come on, and you see all this branding, all this what. So I think there's a very crucial thing that has to be done, which is, number one, the self-assessment of the business. A very honest assessment. What do we look like financially? Financially being the most important one, because it's the lifeline of the business. And what is the goal and our trajectory hope for the next 2, maybe 3 to 5 years? If those goals and the research done internally align, then we can take it to the next level, which is the external assessment. Say, okay, what does the environment look like? What is it saying? Is it ready for this specific product? A lot of decisions are also made on the fact, or considering, what else will it disrupt within this specific ecosystem? If your product is going to disrupt, you best believe that there's going to be a lot of resistance, not just from your clientele, but even from your competition, and they'll be gunning for you. So all this has to be taken into consideration when you're doing the research. You do research, you really assess, and then you strategically plan, taking into consideration what will go right, which is obviously what we want, but more so looking at what could possibly go wrong and how do we mitigate that particular error.
We live in a global village, and the reality is that things are happening. Like nanoseconds.
Right.
Someone's developing something, including kids, they're starting up their own apps and stuff. And so these things happening in the North Pole, or the polar regions up there,
Right.
the West, the North, you name it.
Yeah.
And we are here down in the South. And maybe we are a third world nation and we're still catching up. We're a developing nation. But things are firing like really fast.
Right.
If you blink, something new is there and you miss the trend and that's it. So how are we then to adjust to that? Someone has come from the diaspora and they're thinking, no man, Zimbabwe needs this. Yeah. We need to launch it now, or else we'll miss the boat, or someone else is going to come in. And so there's the aspect of how do we get a society to learn about something new, or a community to learn about something new, before it has already blown out and it's probably blown over that side. But we are here now wanting to learn about it, but there's the aspect of resistance that you talked about, and the issue of disruption, which is a key word when it comes to trying to stir the waters a bit. How do we deal with that adjustment?
Okay. Taking it from an innovation perspective, we at 805, within even our organizations, we have a belief that innovation is an intersection of 3 things, essentially. The first one will be systems. Systems, whether they're internal systems or they are outward environmental influential systems onto your business. Then you've got institutions. These are your regulatory boards, support institutions, whether it's banking, all that. And then you have got the technology. So these 3 things, your systems, your institutions, and your technology, for a product to survive and thrive, they all have to intersect. They all have to meet together and agree. So talking of like systems, you've got a great idea that you've seen, let's say in the UK, you bring it here. If you don't have internal capacity to drive that idea, it will die. Let's say you've got the internal capacity to drive it, but then the institutions are not yet ready for it, it will die. So institutions, let's say governing bodies or policy, there's no policy that will protect the people from your product, whether it's data stuff. So for example, the whole Starlink issue that happened, the technology is perfect. It's already been proven, it's been tested, it's been running. There wasn't policy that was governing that technology. So the idea would die, or there would be more resistance. The system was not available for a company to openly run the processing of that element. So the product, the technology would not take off. So all these three things have to come into play, and it takes a lot of research. Someone has to really look inward and outward to say, okay, what institutions do I need to get involved? Who do I need to talk to? How do I need to regulate? What systems do I need to have inside, inside the company? Do I need, let's say even if it's a radio station, what do I need to do to run this show? And what technologies need to come into place to be able to spread it out wide? So these three things, if they're really considered, there will be growth in whatever idea. Timing is now just at the mercy of your preparedness, more than it is the delusion of I'm ready to just release something.
Awesome. So there's safety in numbers. A lot of us like to get comfortable.
Right.
And I'm speaking to maybe those in the informal sector who are really operating their tables, or they do their cross borders. They bring stuff in and they're running around doing their stuff. And so there comes a time whereby there's just so many of you duplicating the same model of doing things. And now you're just sitting and it seems to have stagnated. There's not much really going on. What advice do you probably have to somebody who's sitting there and thinking, but I know I can do better, but my colleagues there will think that I'm being a little over the top when it comes to the ideas that I want to bring into this place, or my capacity has kind of outgrown this space, but I still want to remain informal because I'm safe here. What advice do you have for somebody there, and what is the risk of staying in that place? Should they not move when they feel that gut instinct to move?
Safety in numbers. There's also danger in numbers.
Yeah, I like watching the National Geographic. So in the Serengeti, when it's time for the zebras or the wildebeest to cross the Mara River, Pop, who's going first? Who's going to take the risk?
I think, given the context of the entrepreneur that we're looking at, and it's such an amazing statistic that in Zimbabwe, probably well over 80% is informal. 80% is informal, and what is essentially being said as well is they haven't really decided to register. Let me talk about the advantages and disadvantages of registering, or maybe not even the disadvantages or advantages, but more so to say why it would be important. There's a lot of growth that comes in formalization. A lot of people are afraid of the tax man, but like we're always saying within our trainings, is that the tax man is just asked you to collect their money. It's not really you who's supposed to pay them. They're just collecting, they're passing it on. The second thing is, once there's formality or a certain level of structure within a business, there is possibility for growth. If a person is by the corner side and you could have the best quality, whatever, but you cannot grow if you're not formal. You will remain at the same level of income. You may look safe, but there's no growth. You cannot supply to people who can buy your stuff all at once, because they are also required to ask you if you're giving the taxman what is required. So formalizing is always good. Even Jesus said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. It's not yours.
If Jesus said it,
If Jesus said it, I mean, come on. But now looking at the case whereby people do the same thing, and this is also like a culture that happens. If one person starts doing something, everybody starts doing it. Yeah, they might add one or two twists to it, but the problem is it all looks identical. And again, your sales will be low. Now, the reason why this happens is there's safety in numbers, in the sense that we are riding on the research of someone else, but we are not informed by the person we're supposed to serve. So the most important information that you could ever decide to use is based on the person you are operating or you're willing to serve. That person will tell you what they need, when they need it, and how they need it, what it looks like, and when they would need it. Without that information, you are shooting in the dark, hoping to hit a target.
So survival versus being functional. the difference between that and what dangers are there in staying in that space. Because like we're saying, that some people are afraid to cross over because of whatever safety net that they have. But for how long can that safety net hold you? Issue of survival, right? A lot of people are trying to survive. But now being functional, and like you're saying, if you want to scale up and do amazing things and grow your business, there's some steps you now need to be taking in order to be able to get there. This isn't that the objective at the end of the day in business. So survival. Most of us are trying to survive. Okay, things can be tough. Yeah, I don't make great decisions. I didn't go to business school, and I'm just working on my intuition on how to do things. So what then? What next? What do you do?
I always say that the best survival tactic is self-imposed survival, and not by default. There's a case whereby we just get into it by chance, that too stressful by everything around. And then there is what we call self-imposed survival mode. A lot of businesses are in survival mode, which entails a lot of things. Firstly, it's cost cutting, reducing waste. Reducing even waste has 8 forms. You've got over procuring and overstocking. That's one type of waste. Another waste is just motion. The way your people move from one point to another. I love the Chinese example. If you look at a Chinese factory, you will find that if a person is supposed to do work from 8 to 5 and only break for an hour at lunch, they will be in the same position doing what they're supposed to do because they are reducing waste. The more there's waste, the more there's motion, there's more waste. So I think as individuals, we need to be able to, even if everything is rosy, everything is good, we need to have an ideology, a philosophy of self-imposed survival mode, working within your limits or even below, because that will give you a big greater cushion to grow when you need to. Self-imposed survival mode is upskilling yourself before the skill is required. If you are seeing that, okay, the world is moving in this direction, it's technology, it's AI, instead of now complaining to say, this AI thing is going to take our job. No, what does it look like if you upskill yourself and you prepare for that evolution? Because it will come, whether you want it or whether you don't, it's going to come. Self-assessment and really analyzing the market. The survival mode tactic also is you looking at the market and predicting where it's going. There's this movie called Battleship, and there's one powerful thing they said. They said the way to defeat this ship is to shoot where you anticipate it to land. Don't shoot at it. So a lot of people are shooting at the targets, but this is a moving target. So we are saying, okay, Chirigu Pisa right now is maybe robotics. And then you focus on introductory robotics, Mangwana Yacha Shifter. It's now maybe machine learning. And then you're running towards that, and then it shifts again. So you need to have the power of predictability to say, okay, in the next 3 years, 2 years, what does it look like? What will be required of me? And then you shoot in that direction. So that the time the target lands, it hits the target.
So I don't know, I want to get your take on this particular issue. But before we do that, it is Capi Talk 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat, and my name is Brita Masalethulini. We are live actually on Facebook, so you can actually go to our Facebook page at Capi Talk 100.4 FM and watch this particular episode of Adulting on the Pulse. And so we've got Pete in the studio who's giving us rich insight onto this here. If anything, please rewatch this particular program, because I think it will help you to also just pick up on a few other, intonations that are in there that can help to assist you in some decision making. And so we also just want to look at something that someone said. His name is Dan Vega. So the turnaround strategist, who said, and he's just like giving us a bit of a snippet of what happens in the wealth mindset of people. Right. So we hear, in quote, that there's about 3% who control the world economies and how things move. These are the people who have got the bag, they've bagged the money. And then the 7% of people who are thinkers, the innovative guys. And then there's us people who move as the wind blows. And he said something very interesting, which was that being able to forecast what happens, this is what that 3% does. Right. So the shift in where wealth goes or the transfers of it is an issue again of timing. So they seem to see it coming and they now know where to put their money. You're an investment, you understand these issues of stocks and stuff. Me as an individual who doesn't know, I have no means of really fully understanding what's going to happen next year or even in the next season that we're getting into. What's your take on what he's saying about the shift of wealth in one season going into another, and these guys being able to keep their eyes radar focus on that, where their money is going, where it's possibly going to go?
I think it's absolutely correct, number one. And I want to merge it firstly with the question you've asked, how they see it and how we can also see it. The first thing that we should do if we don't have that skill is to be within the circles that have that skill. They say that the Jewish community, they circulate money 10 times before they even think of deciding to release it out. At times they don't even leave.
They don't let it leave.
And even the circulation of 10 times, it may not be within a year. It may spill into generations. A number of successful communities that look and we believe they're thriving, they exist within that paradigm. Who has what we need? When you go to the person, I say, Brita, you've got something I need. They'll ask you, okay, I've got this. Okay, let's give it a practical example so that we give some sense of familiarity. I'll be a coach. I'm a coach, executive in business development. You are an astounding radio persona, and you have got probably skills I may need in terms of, if I say, Brit, I need to go out there. How do I go out there? I give it to you. You do what you do. I upgrade. What you have done for me could have been maybe new to you as in terms of me being your customer. So you have upgraded. So now there are 3, 4 more other people that may have the skills that you have helped me upgrade in. You feed them. By association, you have upgraded yourself, and you have, what we would love to say, you have redeemed a time. We always, in spiritual terms, you always hear this, redeeming the times. We redeem the time by acquiring new knowledge. We redeem the time by acquiring new associations. Those are the 2 most powerful ways you can do it. And of course, the most standard redemption of time is acquiring from a greater power, which is God. So he can come as an authority and say, look, there's a shift in your life. This shift happens. But beyond that, how do we then control it? So the people you are talking to right now, today, the top 5 people you talk to every single day will determine whether you're going to redeem time or you're going to lose time.
We have a problem with, maybe it's my own personal experience, and if anyone else has had this to say, amen, raise your hands. Collaborations, I don't think we're that unified. And you've mentioned the Jewish community, perhaps, some aspects of it, and I also look at the Asian community as well. They seem to be operating on that spider's web way of doing things. The spider's web is when something flies in, it catches, it doesn't leave. Okay, it's an interesting thing, and maybe you can help to break it down for us. But you also mentioned the aspect of every man for himself and God for us all, in a sense. And so we are not really like a community that wants to work together. In fact, we want to show each other up. As an I'm better than you.
We're trying to prove.
My car is nicer, faster than yours. It spats quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a lot of that. Maybe we're watching too much Fast and Furious. But the honest truth is that collaborations are very few and far between as a society in Zimbabwe. I'm just bringing it back home. Try to work with people. Do you know how hard it is to find people who actually have the same mindset? Are we in trouble? And are we seeing a lot of this here? And how do we fix it? Because it seems like we don't like each other as much.
Right. I think where you search for something, you determine where that something will take you. I always try to say, when I'm thinking about something, even when I want to go to the grocery stores or whatever, do not go shopping when you're hungry. do not partner with someone who's barely hungry, more than mind hungry. Someone who just wants to satisfy an immediate gratification or desire. Never partner with that kind of person. You follow vision. Vision has its own capacity or way of providing, whether it's the energy to pursue or continually go for the goal, whether it's the logic. Have you ever had an argument with someone who's illogical but hungry? Someone will stress you for $5 at the cost of going for $1,000 business deal. They'll throw a tantrum because they're hungry in the belly. It's okay and it's acceptable to be hungry in the belly, but do not connect or collaborate with a person like that, because they are more prone to the negative effects of bad decisions. You'd rather have a partnership with someone who can regulate their emotion, who can regulate their hunger, and who has self-control, but most importantly, who has vision. A lot of the Greek or the web societies that grow, they know how to regulate their hunger because they are forward looking, and they're like, okay, fine, I can endure. That's why they can do the job for free in order to achieve a result. A lot of the times I've been reading these books and all, they say if you still find yourself having to transact with money, you are not yet there. You should get to a stage whereby there's a transaction based on services, which are not necessarily money. We exchange things. At the upper level, they don't value money like we would at the lower level.
So what are we misunderstanding about money?
Money is just a construct. Money, it's what it's determined to be by someone above. That's all, and it's a controlling factor. They discovered a couple of decades ago, centuries, that no, to motivate this person to move, you need to exchange their sweat for something. That's why it is called, it's a what, medium of exchange. And the moment you discover that no, it's one of the mediums of exchange, not all entirely. Number two, it's not the end goal, but it's a result of value added. When we understand that no, before it comes as the medium or the appreciation of whatever it is, there has to be value that is exerted. So when you are at a point whereby you do something, let's say someone you aspire to be like, or who is at a high level, comes to you and says, Brita, can you do a voiceover for me? Do you know, to show you that money is worthless, do you know you are willing to say, I'll do it for free? But if I come and I say, Brita, can you please do a voiceover for me? No, it's cool, I can do it. It'll be $120. Why is there a difference now? Because one person can propel you and help you redeem time, the other can waste your time.
Interesting you say that, right? I feel like it's like juxtaposed, or it's reverse psychology. Someone will say, I'll do something for free, not realizing that they're actually impaling themselves. And I don't know as well, maybe a bit of clarity from you with regards to what wealthy people think, which is they will not buy cheap stuff because cheap is expensive.
Right.
So help us to understand that. So we'll come back to it shortly. We just want to go into a quick commercial, and then we'll return shortly so that you can help us to unpack that. Cheap is expensive for people. Cheap is expensive. Yeah, people will tell you that this person wants me to solve their immediate problems.
Join us for the Capital Community
So how you price things is very, very important.
Manchester City
We'll kind of round up on one
face
very
FA
important
Cup champions at City
in my
rivals
relationship.
Manchester
Oh my
United.
But let's go on the cheapest expensive.
What aspect of relationships are there?
Live at the
Timing.
Papers Radio Gardens at 1 or 2 Simon
The question that they sort of
Entry is
ask.
$10, which includes a bright bag, a drink,
comes
an
about,
automatic entry into the
That's
raffle
really
draw
good.
for many prizes
What
to be
does
won.
timing have to do with the
Live football
relationship?
action, full
But I
bar,
know, but I'm going to skip
and
this. Now
fun
let's
for
stick to business
everyone.
because I feel relationships.
Capital
We'll miss them.
100.4
And
So come and witness Zimbabwe's champions as they take the money shot in the Carling Black Label National Pool Championship final. Don't miss out on the biggest pool championship of the year at the Zimbabwe Events and Lifestyle in Greendale, Harare on Saturday, August the 3rd, 2024. See you there. Champions deserve champion beer. So this is exciting stuff because I love pool. So I'll be looking forward to that particular game as well. So, Pedzi, we were talking about the issue of timing is everything, right? And I brought in the aspect of cheap being expensive.
Right.
And I'm going to take it a little further down in that the way wealthy people think is different from the way a person who, like you were saying, is starving is thinking when it comes to understanding how money moves. How important is this for people to understand, Pedzi? The way you price things determines who you will have a valuable relationship with. I know we might be straying a little bit off topic, but in this particular aspect, what is the importance of that?
Okay, pricing plays a very big role in who you attract and who you repel. Imagine it's a show, it's a concert. It's the same artist, but then there's their stages in the ticketing. You can have a $10 ticket, standard, general. Just come, do your thing, you know your intentions, and go. And you can have a $30 one, which is a bit premium, above the standard. Then you've got a $70 VIP one. When you pay the $70 VIP one, you are buying something more than what is promised. You're buying assurance of security. You're buying protection and ease of in and out of the concert facility. You're buying a personalized experience. It could be a meet and greet, it could be a personal waiter, whatever it is. If you're putting $10, they're saying everything else that comes with this is on you. You would deal with it. If there's a fire that breaks out and there's a stampede, you will find your exit. If there is a shortage of beverages, you find your own drink. So when it now comes to cheap is expensive, it's not expensive in terms of just the monetary value, but it's expensive in the promise that the money comes with, that it has left out. Expensive is mostly about what has been left out. When you go and buy a suit and it's considered expensive and it's, let's say, tailor-made, you're not just buying the fabric, you are buying the detail. You're buying the assurance of fit. You're buying the assurance of low degeneration of the fabric. If it's dry cleaned and it's all this and that. If it's an expensive car, it will be expensive to maintain, but it has its own perks. It's basic. It's basic. Deal with what you need to deal with by yourself, right? Again, if it's expensive, it has got social implications of association. So I remember I was watching the one of these articles on Bugatti, and I was saying you are invited to that. You cannot just buy it unless you're getting a second hand somewhere. But to buy it, you are invited to buy it. They will rate you. What's your level? And what do you do? You apply, and then it's not always available. So they'll tell you, no, it will be ready in a number of months. But as we are preparing for it, what color would you like it to be? And now when you get it, you join the club. So if that Bugatti costs you 700,000, the club, based on the transactions and relations, can make you more than 700,000.
It's a lifestyle thing. I
Exactly.
like it. The Bugatti kind of lifestyle. Anyway, you've just touched on something which I think is very, very interesting. We call it new money in a sense. I know it's an issue again of time. We don't have much time left, but new money. I've just landed a massive contract and I've just got this wad of money that's come my way. I've been dying to get this particular car, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Timing. Please help us to understand. Because there's the aftermath if you haven't purchased that car. The service and everything else to go along with it. And that deal is not going to come back again like it did. Timing, Pedzi. How do we deal with that versus my own desires to drive that I want to drive that car?
Okay, I think we can tackle that one really fast. The new money decision, you're trying to decide on where to, even taking it back, which neighborhood to stay, which school to send your children, what kind of wedding to have, what kind of lifestyle to have. There are a couple of things that people would definitely need to consider, even if it's a relationship. But relationship, I know it's been burning in people's souls. The relationship, what does money need to do with it, or timing, what does it have to do with it? These simple factors. Number one, self-awareness. Are you emotionally, mentally, and even are you emotionally and mentally ready for that thing, or even physically? There has to be self-assessment. Am I able to handle this? Are you, when you assess your own emotional positioning, it will tell you, yes, go ahead, don't. Have you dealt with your traumas? Do you have financial intelligence to handle this kind of money? Because the money you don't plan for goes back where it came from. Are you financially stable? What is the economic environment of your mind? Are you economically ready for it? And whether it's starting a family, buying a house, you need to be able to constantly generate funding. Do you have budgeting skills, planning skills? It's not so much about, like what you said, buying the Bugatti for new money, but after a year, it needs to be serviced. Will I still have money? So all that comes into play, and even in your personal aspirations, where are you? There are some people who are locked down in terms of a relationship, because the moment you decide to attach to someone, say you want to be a doctor and you want to be a specialist, and it requires you to go to another country. The moment you make a decision, you need to understand that that decision has to be put on hold, and it's universal. So those are some of the factors that people need to consider.
We need to bring you back on this one, because a lot of us, we kind of excited. We get excited when we see money. Money magnifies what's within the people. So it is. The Pulse here on Capital 100.4 FM, Harari's Heartbeat. I want to thank you so much, Pezzi, for coming through. And I know there's so much to touch on, because you've already opened the whole book and there's different chapters to that. And so we're looking forward to more conversations with you on the Pulse. And so I'm hoping this has been of great help to our listeners who are tuned into the Pulse as we're talking about adulting here on Capital 100.4 FM. Yes, guys, timing is everything. Don't just go where the wind is blowing you, but really sit down and think, introspect on some of the choices that you make. Pezzi, we appreciate you. And you take absolute great care. It is your premier talk radio station, Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat, and my name is Brita Masalethulini, and shortly we shall be getting into the news at 2 o'clock, so please do stand by as more to come here on our afternoon listening. And so, yes, excited about the future for all of those who've picked up the nuggets of wisdom that have come through from our wonderful guests. So please watch this again. However, it's 2 o'clock and it's time for the news.